You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Well, when we last had this person on, we talked about investing in yourself. And you can never invest too much. Human capital, that is the capital that is the most productive in the end. And every time you invest in yourself, the benefits and the return on investment are at least 10x. At least that's always been my experience. And I'm sure it's been yours too, Robert. But now we got the 4 L's. So you've taken the investment in yourself. It's paying off. Now, what do you do?
Kerry, thanks for having me back. I felt and given me another shot. I thought that I kept it a little abstract, a little too high level last time, and wanted to bring a little bit more specific feedback, direction, ideas, and suggestions. And I like alliteration, so I thought maybe I'd come at you with the 4 L's.
Okay, so tell us the 4 L's and why you should care about them.
All right, so for my thesis, for proposal to you, sir, today is first is learning, second, leading, third, listening, and then leaving. And I'll explain in just a second, but that's going to be my framework for our conversation today.
Okay, so could we say that this is a part of life cycle engineering here?
Right. Kind of. Maybe there's a theme, right? The place that I work is rubbing off on me. And I'm going to kind of come at this as from the framework of one person, just a person. Maybe you're listening, you're out there jogging, working out, mowing the lawn. But I think it could apply to your team, your business also. And so let's get into it for a second. So learning, what I mean by that, it's lifelong. Right. And if wherever you are in your career, there is still more to learn. And some examples, I'm an accountant, so I think professional certifications have absolutely changed my life. In whatever career field you are, there's formal education, formal training. It could be that degree you never finished, or it could be a professional certification that would differentiate you in the marketplace. You got to go get that. You've got to go get some letters behind your name. It could be an associate's, it could be undergrad, grad, or it could just be that professional certification in that IT field. First, you got to knock that out. Second, learning is not all about a degree and a piece of paper. It is the subject matter. And for accounting, data analytics is super key. That might not sound like something accountants would normally do, but it is so important for us to understand data analytics as a technical skill. And if you're an engineer or you're an IT professional, you're a manufacturer, there is a nuanced skill that is kind of emerging in your field. You know what that is. You need to go get some education in that. That might be a podcast. It could be a magazine. It could be a book, but you've got to learn specific skills. And then there's tools that you can use with those skills. For, hey, I'm a bean counter again, data analytics, I'd say that's Power BI or Tableau. For you, you might be in manufacturing, you might be in IT, you might be an educator or a podcaster. There's tools that are totally critical. You need to not be a user, you need to be a power user. And then the last idea around learning is that you've gotten so much. You've achieved some stuff, and it's time to give back. And I think it is a great time to be a mentor to others and to share some of which you have learned, or maybe to look for a mentor and be the mentee and look at someone who's a little further on their career, or maybe they've gone through something that you're in the middle of. Reach out to them and create that mentor-mentee relationship.
Okay, I buy that. I think it's very logical, and really the greatest gift you can give another person, the most meaningful gift, is a gift of your time. Money is easy. You write a check, you do your credit card on the site, whatever it is, but actually giving time of yourself, that is the ultimate gift, isn't it?
I agree, which transitions perfectly to the next L, leading. So you're a leader at your company, your firm, what about, are you volunteering in your community or in your industry associations? If you're whether you're a podcaster, an engineer, or you're a manufacturer, IT person, I guarantee you there is an industry association out there desperately looking for volunteers to serve on a committee or serve on the board. Your community is in desperate need of people to help the community. Your religious institution, whatever that is, they're in desperate need. Volunteer, the amazing amount of networking you can do and learning you can do, but you need to give back. Another idea is, let's say you're working at a firm. Another way you can lead is by volunteering for a cross-functional team. I know I either get an email or I send an email like every day asking to be on, or somebody to be on, a cross-functional team. Nobody ever does it. Be that person who actually responds at the company and volunteers for a cross-functional team. Learn a little bit about HR, or if you're in ops, or if you're in ops, learn about accounting, or if you're in accounting, volunteer for the safety committee and learn what the people out on the floor are really doing. And then lastly, I recommend in this leading category that sometimes isn't obvious is you need to volunteer for the worst job, the worst customer, the worst assignment, the biggest problem. If you are an entrepreneur, you need to look for the client who's having the worst time in the worst, most difficult situation. I think you can learn the most by volunteering for the worst thing.
Okay, so do the dirtiest job and clean up the mess effectively, fix other people's problems. Okay, so we've done all that. What's next?
I think listening, and I needed to hear this today because I'm a terrible listener, but I wrote it down. So when I listen to this podcast back, Kerry, maybe I follow my own advice. But you got to realize when you're going through this learning and leading that you are not the smartest person in the room, and that being quiet and absorbing the information, the input, the direction of others can be very powerful. It can be empowering and then very helpful to you as a leader, as an owner of the business, as a leader within the organization, as a peer. Come into the room realizing you're not the smartest person in the room.
Right.
Another listening is people don't listen enough to the customer. If you're at a business development meeting where you're trying to quote unquote sell, and it's 30 minutes, you need to be listening for 29, talking for 1. If you have internal customers, you got to hear them out. If you're like, well, I have no idea what my customer's thinking, you need to go talk to your customer. I'm talking to you. Listening is absolutely critical. And one of the most important people is your internal and external customers. And then I'll throw out there, if you are, I tell accountants this all the time, or maybe you're a new person at a company, or you have a new project you're working on, is you need to go take the best salesperson in the company or the division in which you work. You need to go have coffee or lunch with that person. And the old timer who's been there, does that, salty hair, been around, you need to take that person out for coffee or some lunch and listen to them. They have forgotten more than you know, and they'll appreciate the fact that you talk to them. That's listening.
Okay. So, life gets in the way. We're busy. You've got family. I'm sure you got a really busy life, and you should do all this, but you get caught up and you just don't do it. How do you get yourself focused, Robert, to actually do what you're saying rather than let it be an abstract set of principles?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Torque Resources is an exploration company establishing a portfolio of premier copper-gold early-stage projects in Chile. Torque's management and technical teams have a strong track record of raising capital, discovery, and monetization of exploration successes. The company's Margarita copper-gold project is located within the prolific coastal Cordillera Belt in Chile, which hosts some of the world's largest and most profitable copper mines. The Margarita project possesses excellent discovery potential for a major copper discovery due to the strength of the alteration system, large-scale magnetic targets, and the presence of copper oxide mineralization. Drilling is anticipated to begin in Q3 of this year. Torque trades in Canada under TORQ and on the OTC under TRBMF. To learn more, go to torqueresources.com. That's torqueresources.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network, the information you need to thrive now more than ever.
It's like we pre-planned this, even though we didn't. The fourth L is leaving. There is some stuff that you're going to have to stop doing. You don't have an infinite amount of time, but I bet there are some non-value added activities that you and I and everybody listening are doing. Social media is a sinkhole of lies. Get off of it. Stop swiping and scrolling and watching TikTok videos. Television is full of malarkey and it's totally non-value added. Stop reading the news from that site that makes you mad all the time. You need to leave some of these these time sucks so that you have time to listen, to lead, and to learn. It could be that you have to, it's not that. You might be a person who's like, you know what? I got to leave some negative influences in my life, like some old friends, some old college buddies that, boy, when all we get to do, we get together, all we do is drink. And I just feel like crap that day. I feel terrible the next day. You got to leave. It could be a job. You might need to leave a job. You might have a negative mindset that you need to leave, that you constantly enter every situation that it's just the worst case scenario is possibly going to happen. It could be some negative habits. There might be somebody on this call. You know what? I don't have my nutrition right, my exercise right, my sleep right. Those negative habits you might have to leave. Family's a little harder. You know, sometimes you're stuck with family, but you don't have to be stuck with them all the time. You don't have to pick up the phone every time your XYZ relative wants to call and complain. You may have to leave that and separate yourself to make that gap, make that time to learn, to lead, and to listen, to grow.
All right. So get rid of toxic people in any aspect of your life because they don't necessarily, even if they're not going to say it, they don't really want what's best for you. And they're not really going to help you accomplish your goals. So the sooner you leave those people, the better. Leave unproductive situations, unproductive work, and it might mean leaving the career that you've chosen for yourself for another career.
And I'll give a little extra credit. As we were talking, I was thinking that if you're like, hey, check, I got all that, is that maybe an extra credit idea for that. You've invested in yourself now, and you're doing all these 4 things, is that now might be the time to write or to speak or to be on a podcast. Stop listening to Kerry's podcast and email them and ask to be on it. There are sites where you're like, well, I want to write, but I don't know, or I want to be quoted, but I don't know, or I want to speak, but I don't know. There are sites online that facilitate all of this. You know, every industry journal that you read, they desperately are looking for authors. Boom, just email them and talk to the editor. There's websites like podcastguest.com where podcasts like Kerry are looking for guests. Get on there. Reporters that are looking for sources for their articles that they're writing, they go to haro.com so they can find people. Google it, get out there, put your name in the hat and write and speak and at conferences or on podcasts.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that's all reasonable. And just tell us, Robert, one thing you can do right now to start the path of the 4 L's.
I'm going to go off reservation a little bit with been reading a lot personally about the importance of nutrition, exercise, and sleep. And I think it's something people really take for granted. I know I did for a very long time, that I wasn't focused. I didn't feel rested. I didn't feel my best for years. And I had a friend that had a heart attack and had triple bypass surgery. My age, this was 6 or 7 years ago, and almost died. And it was a miracle, didn't have a stroke and wasn't seriously injured. I'm in the hospital. I'm listening to the doctor, and the doctor's describing everything this guy was doing wrong. And that if he didn't get his stuff together, all the stuff that was going to happen to him. And I was like, okay, first of all, I am the same age and weight as this guy, living the same life. I am not getting enough sleep, terrible exercise, no nutrition. I'm more overweight than my friend. And I was like, it was like the doctor was talking to me, and it was like a wake up call. And so about 5 years ago, I thought, all right, I'm not sleeping. I'm not looking at my nutrition. I'm not doing any kind of exercise. I'm going to just try to get a little better every day. And so I was on this super high-tech fad diet called Eat a Little Less. And I lost 1 pound a week for 65 weeks. I lost 65 pounds. And now I sleep better. I feel better. My nutrition, I'm putting in like things with actual vitamins in them. I do some exercise because I'm not carrying around a 65-pound backpack. And it makes me better at all this. I now have energy to invest in myself. I have energy and time to learn, to lead, to listen, to leave. I had some bad habits I had to leave. And it was making me like, I wasn't the best version. I was a terrible version of myself and on my way to a stroke or death. And so maybe that helps somebody who's listening. Like, I just want you to know, hey, like, I don't have all the answers. I don't have all this figured out. I'm on a journey too. And that really helped me along my journey to get everything else just got a little bit better because I focused on me.
Right. And that is the most important thing, to be selfless. You got to be selfish and focus on yourself, improving yourself and improving your health, optimal health, because without optimal health, you're not going to have optimal performance. And I think that is the biggest takeaway from what you're saying here, Robert.
Amen.
So people want to find out more about you. LinkedIn, best place to find you.
Yep. It's the only thing I'm really on. There are other profiles of me elsewhere that my daughter runs my social media stuff. I don't actually do any of that. So if people see like, wait a minute, Robert's on Twitter and Facebook and this or that, it's actually a lie. I pay my daughter to post stuff on other social media channels. But I'm really on LinkedIn. That's really it. And I think I'm the only bald bean counter on LinkedIn that's named Robert Bendetti.
All right. And hey, at least you're keeping your daughter out of trouble, doing something productive, might even help your career and hers. So we wish you the best. If you got a question for Robert, of course, send me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. When you're at our site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. In the show notes, you'll see Robert's LinkedIn link. Click it, and you'll get right to his LinkedIn profile. And sign up for your free newsletter while you're there. Robert, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.